I sing for all that you have done for me. We welcome you this evening to Amazing Grace. I'm Sherry Colby, the senior pastor here at Victory Worship Center and the host of Amazing Grace. Tonight, I'm really excited who our guests are. I've known them their whole life. Can you imagine this? Their whole life. I have my son David to my right and my son Brett to my left. So I'm glad that you all were willing to come and share the story today.
Thanks for having us on the show, Mom.
No problem at all.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be really interesting, and you'll understand why. And you know, you raise kids, and they have different personalities, right? In my case, I have 3 sons, and they're all completely different. And David is my middle son, and you know the middle child. The middle child, you know, usually has it the hardest. I really think the oldest child. They really say that the oldest child has it the hardest. And then it goes, but we're neglected. I'm a middle child too, David, so I understand what you've gone through. But the Lord knew after my first child, all that I was going through, that I had to have a perfect child second, all right? And so David came along, and I have to tell you something. David has never given me 1 day's trouble his whole life. Can you say that about your kids? Not 1 day. He obeyed the rules. He tried to do the right thing. He was compassionate, and when he was in the kindergarten or the 1st grade, I forgot about this till right now, he won the kindest boy in the ward. Oh, all right. And then my baby comes along, Brett, and so that's my strong-willed child over here. Now you're going to put, Brett always has an opinion, and it may not be your opinion, and if it's not your opinion, he'll try to convince you that his opinion is the right opinion. You know what I'm talking about? One thing about strong-willed kids that's really great, Brett, is that if you can keep them, you know, motivated and in the right direction, they're usually overachievers, and they do very well. They're very successful. So I think you've proven that too.
Well, I try, you know?
Yeah. So we're going to see that in a little bit. But before we get started, we always have to talk about COVID. All right, we're in week 5,000. Do you feel like it's week 5,000? Oh my gosh.
Running.
Do you know I went over to the mall. I had to get, Pastor Chris said my makeup was too light. So I had to get some different makeup. So I actually went to the mall and I brought Jacob with me. So we walked up and down the whole Boynton Beach Mall. There was like 10 people in the whole mall. It was just, it's eerie. It's almost eerie. Okay? So does it feel like week 5,000 to you, David?
Everything's been normal for me. I continue to work, so.
Okay, well, so
You would label it as an essential employee.
Well, I know you're essential, and I'm going to talk about
But
that.
not a lot of things have changed personally besides wearing a mask.
But wearing
as
the
a hindrance.
mask, you can't go out to dinner.
You can still go out to dinner.
Well, it's kind of hard. It's not the same.
You just don't go out to dinner ever.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, I went out to dinner last week. Carabas came to my house.
Yeah, they came to your
you had
house.
it
you didn't
delivered.
have to
I know. See how that's the way it goes. Well, week 5,000, that's what I feel like it is. And, you know, kids are going back to school. And so I know that David, my grandchildren, Jackson and Paige, went back to school today. And I talked to Paige, and she said it was great. I don't know how Jackson feels about it. But what made you decide to, during the COVID, to go ahead and send your kids to school?
Because I think it's important for kids to get out there, for kids to socialize. Essential, it's for everybody to socialize.
Okay.
I'm not saying that COVID is not a big issue or concern. I just personally don't think it's for the masses that a lot of the things need to be happening that are happening right now.
Okay, so that's your opinion. So you decided to let your kids physically go back to school. I know there's online. They go to a private school, Green Acres Christian Academy, and they can do either or. Now, Brett, I know that you decided to go ahead. Your kids, of course, are younger. We have a 5-month-old, and there's Lincoln. And Lincoln is how old?
About to be 3 in a month.
About 3 years old. So what made you decide to go ahead and send him back to daycare?
It was just time. Same thing. It's important to socialize, and he's that age where he needs it. Let the energy out. Taking him out and then having Logan at the same time was just tough, especially because business just didn't stop. You know, the real estate industry kind of just kept moving and got stronger. So, you know.
So in this time, we're going to get into that a little bit when we talk about what you guys do. But, you know, we wanted to say something positive before we get started. And I have something really positive. I don't know how many of you realize, I really had a white shirt on today, earlier. But today marks a 100-year anniversary that women were given the right to vote. Yeah, right? Can you imagine? That was a big deal back then. So that's something positive to think about in the country right now. And I always want to give a nugget. So before we get started on what we're going to talk about tonight, I want to give you a couple nuggets. I had one, but then I saw one on Facebook that was so good. All right, so the first one I want to give you, and think about this because both of you are married, the strength of marriage is not love. Okay, the strength of marriage is not love. The strength in marriage is forgiveness. Well, that's good, right? All right, because you're going to go through a lot of times where you're going to have to usher in a lot of forgiveness. Amen? All right, this was another great one. This was, I think Kenny Rivera posted this today. All right, if you cannot be corrected without being offended, you will never grow in life. Oh, I'm going to say that one again. If you cannot be corrected without being offended, you will never grow in life. One of the things I always try to teach the church, I've tried to teach my kids also, is to keep a teachable spirit. Nobody knows everything. Well, they may think they do sometimes. Nobody knows everything, and I don't care if you're young or old, there's always something you can learn, and you can learn it from a young person. You can learn it from somebody at all ages. Amen?
Amen.
Would you agree?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my kids. One thing you can do if you're watching us live, you can ask questions, and they'll make sure I get them. If you want to ask Brett a question, if you want to ask David a question, you can. So let me tell you a little bit of background. David, as I said, was my middle child, and he has 3 children who he gave me. I have all boys in my life, and all of a sudden we got paid, so we got my granddaughter, who's the love of my life besides Jesus, okay? And they're just such incredible kids. David's an amazing father, just an amazing father. He's married to Crystal for how many years?
13,
Oh.
12?
12, 13?
12 or 13.
Something like that.
Somewhere in there.
Okay. And he is a captain of the West Palm Beach Fire Department, and I'm a very proud mother because you were one of the youngest captains, right?
I think so, yes.
Ca-
Yes.
David.
Second youngest, I think, right?
Right.
Maybe the second youngest.
Well, how old were you when you became a captain?
30.
Okay, 30. That's pretty young to become a captain, all right? And so we were really proud of him. He also owns a business called Solar Shine. He has solar panels on top of his house. And so if you need your solar panels cleaned, he can do that. Or if you need your windows cleaned at your house, he'll be able to come and do that also. So he's a pretty busy guy for being a father, being in the fire department, and Solar Shine. And then we have Brett over here, the baby of the family. He's married to Nicole. How many years have you been married?
3?
3 years? 4? No, it's more than 3. You better start counting.
4.
Oh, I hope your wives are watching. They can't figure it out.
Sorry, Nicole.
4. Okay? And Brett just had a brand new baby. He's only 5 months old. And so their house is pretty active.
Little Logan.
And you've just bought a new home you're going to move into. So you got a lot going on, right?
Thursday closing, but yeah.
Thursday you're closing?
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. Brett works for Remax Realty, and again, a proud mother. He's a very hard worker. I mean, my husband was in real estate, and he just kind of passed it down to our son, and he's just amazing. He's honest. He has so much integrity, and he was 4th in the state of Florida out of 6,000 realtors. He was number 4 for the month of June. Yeah, I was so proud of my son.
Thank
So
you.
I have to tell you, if you're watching, if you want somebody that you can, who's honest and will be committed to you, I encourage you to check out Brett Colby. You have Brett
Well,
Colby
thanks,
Group?
Mom. Brett Colby Group
Brett
at
Colby.
Remax Direct.
At Remax Direct. Brett
That's
Colby
it.
Group at Remax Direct. All right. So as we said, God makes us all so different. And I had said earlier on the Thursday morning chat, you never know what's going to come out of your children's mouths, right? I didn't know if I was crazy to ask my kids to come on the show or not. And I'm like, oh, how many times will my hand want to do this? I don't know. But I told them to be honest. I told them to be free in their answers. And that's what we want. Okay, you ready, guys?
Shoot.
Okay, here we go. The first question. Oh, first of all, I want to ask you a question.
What?
Because I think people would want to know this. David, you have a really hard job. You're a captain. You've seen a lot of things. Okay, you've seen deaths. You've seen really bad accidents, you've seen fires, you've seen it all. You're going through all the stuff right now that's going on, downtown, and you have to face a lot of things as someone in the fire department. But I remember one time you telling me the cars that that they come out alive in. Do you remember what you told me? What car it was that you always found was that is more safe than the other cars?
I can't sit there and say one vehicle is more safe than the other, but a lot of the vehicle accidents we've gone on, you just can pick and see the cars which car handled the impact better. I know Subarus are always a good vehicle.
Okay.
And the Jeep Cherokee that you
Oh,
have.
I'm safe. Okay.
That one's done pretty well. So.
Okay, so you might want to.
It's an unbiased opinion, just from
look
what I've seen.
Look into that, when you see a lot of things like that. All right, so as you know, my boys were raised in church, and so the question I would have, and you can talk to each other or whatever, do you think it's important to raise kids in church?
For sure, 100%.
Why?
Regardless your outlook, whether you're religious or not, I think everyone can agree that the Bible is a good book of morals for the most part. So it's, to be raised with that and the lessons it teaches, I think goes a long way.
Okay, so you would encourage parents to raise their kids in church?
For sure.
Okay, David, do you think kids should be raised in church?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a really profound
If you want more of a basis, I think with raising a child in church, you give them the baseline, the structure, the support that they need to move on. Really, I have 18 years with my kids before they become adults and choose their own path. If I can set the groundwork in the first 18 years, and not saying that a child doesn't go to their parent continuously for advice and stuff like that, but you set the groundwork. I'm more worried about my I'm worried about the world they're going to grow up in. I'm worried about the things that are coming about in this world, but I'm more worried about eternity for them. I'm more worried about their souls for heaven, being heaven bound and stuff, because there's only so much I can control on this earth. But
Amen.
you give them, once you set the foundation, that's all you can do. They have to build upon that.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the church members before church started. We were saying the same thing. They were dealing with something with an adult child, and all you can do as a parent is raise a child in the way they should go. And that's all you can do, and then they get a certain age, they're going to do whatever they choose to do. So that would be an interesting question I'd ask you. Why do you think so many kids that are raised, I shouldn't say so many, but there's enough that are raised in church, but they don't continue to go to church when, let's say, they're 18, when they feel like they don't have to and they can make their own choice? Why do you think a lot of kids choose not to?
Maybe their mother forced them to go. I don't know.
Oh, you're trying to tell me I forced you to go?
No. I don't know. It's some people have to, forge their own path and figure out stuff on their own, and but think that would be, the answer to it.
What do you think?
The same.
Yeah.
Curiosity. People want to go
Test the world.
Test the world out, and
so everybody I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people do that. They try to step out at some point. They've been under the thumb of their parents or the church system, and then they want to go out. And but that's usually when you make the biggest mistakes. When we were talking about the path Sunday. If you get off that path, if you steer off that path, you're going to make some bad choices. All right, and you're going to wish later on that you could go back and take those choices back. And if you look back, a lot of times it's because you walked off the path of your walk with the Lord, and He wasn't first in your life. So those are some words of wisdom. Okay. One thing I've noticed lately, and it's interesting because I went to a church service. I can't think of what to call it. And the man was talking about titles and how people don't need titles, okay? So Grandma's watching you. And so be good. Say hi, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi,
Grandma.
Is Aunt Kathy there too?
And they were talking about how it's not important to give people titles. And I would agree that some people give themselves the title that they don't earn. But the more I thought about that, the more I thought, no, that's not what I think it should be. Because I look back in my childhood and I realized that we were raised that you called everybody Mr. and Mrs. like Colby, all right? You wouldn't dare dare call an adult by their first name. That was taboo. Would you agree, some of you older people out there, right? Okay, then all of a sudden, we decide that everyone should be your chum, and they went from calling you Mrs. Colby, let's say, to Miss Sherry, right? Everybody went to the first name. Do you remember how that went? And I remember being taken back by that a little bit when they did it, but you get used to things like that. All right, and somebody had mentioned to me last week, I think it was Deb who was on the show, we were talking about this earlier, and she said, we were talking about titles. You know, a doctor works a long time in his education to be called doctor, and you know then what he is and what you expect of him. So titles are important. And so if you go to a doctor, you call him doctor, you show him respect, all right? You call me Pastor Sherry, a lot of times, especially the kids, it's because they need to learn how to show respect to people who are in office. And then it holds the person with the title accountable for their role, okay? So I've noticed one of the things is a lot of kids, I don't know, maybe you don't feel this way, all right? But because of that, and we want to be, everybody wants to be friends, you can never be your child's friend until they're grown, all right? That the respect for God, we have lost so much respect for God, or the awe of God, or the fear of God. So what do you think of that? Are these hard questions?
No, not really. I mean, it's it's all how you raise your kids. It's the household you bring them up in, and you know they're gonna follow in your footsteps and watch what you do, and you know that goes for both parents. So,
right. One thing I love about you, David, is you and Crystal insist that your kids say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am.
Yes.
And you don't see a lot of that. You know, I hear it sometimes from people who are raised in the South, but I hear a lot of that. Now, boy, they get corrected right away. What did you say? And you know, yes, ma'am, no, sir, this sort of thing. And I love it as a grandma because I'm realizing that they're learning how to respect not only their parents, but also to respect adults that are around them. Okay, there's always a question that people want to know. What is it like to be a pastor's kid? All right, and I told you guys to be honest. What you like most about being a pastor's kid, or what you hated the most about being a pastor's kid? All right, so who's going to go first?
I wouldn't know if there's really any benefits. Maybe you get to sneak a couple more crackers from the communion wafers or whatever.
A couple extra juice.
The Lord's Supper wafers, and maybe an extra Welch's grape juice shot.
We did used to polish those off at the end.
Exactly.
We'd wait for everybody to leave, and then my kids would eat all the Lord's Supper drinks.
I mean, I guess you could probably say maybe with anybody who has a pastor's kid, that maybe an expectation that you're supposed to be a little bit better than everybody.
Yeah.
Not better in the sense that you're better than somebody, but better in behavior and your
What
walk
they
and your
expect of
approach.
you.
And yeah, so I guess
Did you ever feel that pressure?
Not with
I'm not
Ryan.
gonna sit there and say, yeah, not with Ryan. No, I've never felt. I'm not gonna say it was a pressure thing. It was never like you had to. I don't know. Maybe it would have been different having a father as a pastor than having a mother as a pastor.
Well, okay. But
Maybe
I was
as
still
being
nurturing, right?
Yeah, well, being as stern, I would say in that sense, more authoritative in that
understand.
aspect.
Okay, so okay, I get.
Not saying that women can't be authoritative.
I
Just saying.
understand what you're saying. I think that's probably right. Okay, what do you think is a good thing, and what's a bad thing about being a preacher's kid?
Like you said, I don't know. I mean, no shot. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I had to come to church super early. I mean, I don't know that there's a huge
Which was
plethora
usually
of
bribed by an
benefits.
Egg McMuffin and a hash
Yeah,
brown.
I got some
That's
McDonald's
right, I always
breakfast.
stopped at McDonald's
And
right
I
on
definitely
the way,
appreciate
right?
it. Yeah, 100%. Extra hash brown, all
See
that.
there, just to get
Yeah.
them to church. I did it for the grandkids too, but they come like 3 hours early. You know why the grandkids come 3 hours early? Because they're afraid their parents are going to be late. And so they would spend the night just so they'd be on church on time. Isn't that something?
God bless them.
God bless them. Yes. So, you know, it's also hard to be a pastor when you're raising kids, because I always have to say a lot of times I'm not your pastor, even though I'm their pastor too, but I'm their mother. So, you know, like you'll have a kid say back to you, and I'm not saying it's necessarily these two, but you know, I thought you were a pastor, and no, I'm your mother. And so you're going to get corrected, and you may not like what I say, and they may think it's, unkind when actually they need to be scolded or this sort of thing, except for you, David. You did everything right.
Going right back to labels.
Yep.
There we are, we're labeling people. I don't know. So, but it's not always easy to be the pastor either, because you're always, I don't think it's as bad today as it was years ago. But like you say, the expectation of what the church thinks the kids should be. And I never wanted that for you guys. Now, the difference in kids is Ryan and Brett, David, you were very involved in the youth department. And so, you were really connected to Pastor Craig, and you were very involved. And so I think that you had a lot more friends here. So you had friends besides going to church, right? Now, Brett didn't have that. This is so weird, but there was nobody in Brett's age group growing up. So you didn't get involved in the youth department. You became a heathen. No, I know you didn't.
I was testing the waters.
You were testing the waters. No, like I said, when you have a strong-willed child, Brett will debate you on everything, everything. And I was telling on the show a few weeks ago, we were talking about strong-willed kids, and Brett, before he was, I think he was just turned 18 or whatever, he wanted to run for mayor of Lantana. He comes running in the house, because he was always wanting to prove that he was right.
The election's coming up, vote for me.
And I remember saying to him, well, I think your first step is to register to vote, and that would be a good start. But he said to me tonight, hey, I still could run for the mayor.
Why not?
They call you mayor.
I've heard it.
Every time we go someplace, everywhere we go, somebody knows you.
This was from all that, getting around when I wasn't in the youth group. I frolicked.
Let me ask you something, Brett, because you are a realtor. What do you, what would you tell a first-time buyer? What advice do you give people for a first-time buyer?
Pick the right agent. It's so many agents just put their commission before their clients, and it's such a huge investment and just something not to take lightly. So pick your agent wisely, because the agent kind of can quarterback everything from the right inspector to the right lender, to make sure you're getting the best interest rate, that your house is a solid house, even after the deal, to repairmen that are honest and trustworthy, which in South Florida, I think we all know is pretty far and few between. So,
well, that's one thing I do love about you, because you have a lot of integrity. And one thing I know that your father had instilled in you was, never let greed get in the way, because it's somebody's biggest investment of their life. And so don't just think about yourself. Really be thinking about your client and what would be best for them, and are they making the best decision?
for sure.
And that's why I can recommend you, not just because you're my son, I would recommend you because of your honesty and your integrity. So.
Yeah, there's a house behind the church that I had to do a release and cancellation right before I came here, just because it wasn't the right fit. So, you just have to do what you have to do and keep your clients, best interest in mind.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're that way. All right, let me ask you another question. How do you feel right now? We're going through this whole COVID thing, and how do you feel about church online?
Convenient.
Has its benefits, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not late.
Yes.
The kids don't have to come to church 3 hours early.
But it is you can easily get sidetracked,
Distracted, for sure.
get to doing things. But then again, I've been able to get things done while listening to church online.
I'm a
so,
very good multitasker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying
I
you
was able
stayed
to
in
lay
a
down
room
the
while
wood
you
floors.
watched.
Yeah, I put down wood floors while church was going on.
That's
So.
You know what? We wonder what's going to happen in the future to church. I don't know if church will ever be the same. I'm waiting to see what God's doing in this hour. He said he's doing a new thing. I think he's checking all of our hearts as ministers, as a church, to find out what we're really made of and how faithful we'll be. But there is a concern about what will happen when this COVID thing is all over. Will people come back to the church, or are they getting comfortable with watching church online?
I think some people are going to change forever from it, and some people will go back to normal. All depends on your personality and who you are.
But my boys are coming back. Right?
You hear that, Ryan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no.
Now
If you don't want me to get on a conspiracy agenda, then personally, I think this is all part of a overall system to purposely try to shut these doors permanently,
Okay.
to get people out of the church, and so that's my personal viewpoint on it, and
So you think that this
things will probably change after November 5th.
Oh, yeah, after the
So.
election, okay. Well, you know, as we say at the end of the show, we want people to give their opinions. It might not be the opinion of the church, but we want everybody on the show being honest about their opinion. And yes, there are a lot of people who feel the same way you do, David, that this is, there's just so much stuff out there. I can't watch another video or another, I'm just trusting the Lord right now. And if you have a relationship with the Lord, there's no fear in this. And let's keep our eyes open, and we know we're always to be prepared for the end times. But we can't be robbed of today worrying about tomorrow. So
It's a tough thing. I mean, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Like, we had to take Lincoln out of school right when Logan was born. You know, Logan was born March 12th at Palms West. The first confirmed case of corona in Palm Beach County was March 13th in Palms West. So it was just a very, you know, trying time. But, you know, as the months went on, and, you know, my brother saw certain things in his field, and speaking to clients of mine that saw other things. But then I also dealt with clients that are COVID nurses and had a different outlook. So it's just kind of taking your own perspective and figuring out what's best for you and your family, and whatever that choice is, God bless you. You know.
yeah, I would agree with you too.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, it's funny. I hope you're not. Are you having any more kids?
No.
You don't know. Probably
No,
not.
probably.
Okay, because this is it. When they had their first child, they had to get out of the hospital right away because the hurricane came. All right, they had to get home, and they released them to get out of the hospital, and we had that huge hurricane. All right, and then the second child, Logan, like I said, COVID hit, and so it was crazy. It was really crazy. They had to get him out of the hospital too. So.
Probably shutting down shop.
Yeah. But, you know, we just keep moving on. Now, the next question I have to ask you, if you could change anything about church, you have to be honest, if you could change anything about church, if you were in charge of all, what would you change about church? Not just this church, I'm talking about church. What would you change about church?
Well, this church, I would say, let Craig preach one more week. Personally. But,
I'll never talk to you again. All right.
come on, Mom.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I don't think there's much. I mean, I kind of like, and I can't really talk to other churches because I haven't been to any, but.
And that we're not allowed to go to any
Yeah.
other churches.
We can't go.
You have to be strike dead if they go. No.
We have to listen to our mother, but.
And you've told me that's really hard. Well, it's really hard to listen to your mother. He said that about Pastor Craig because you feel like your mother's lecturing you.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can't really. It's very hard to take a message with my mother preaching. It's my mom talking.
Yeah.
And,
Like, oh, here she goes
yeah,
again, right?
and I also hear her talk at home, and it's so I've known her my whole life. Yeah. So it's a little different, but no, I mean it's. I think the church is great. You're starting to relinquish a little bit, and I think the music is doing fantastic. I love
Right.
that, and yeah, it's all it's all good.
All right. Anything you would change? Even
It's
the
a-
system of church.
I don't know. I have to think about that one. Because I think everything needs a change at some point in time.
Yeah.
Just to revamp, to refreshen, or however you would put that.
I'm hoping
I'm kind of
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Well, I think even after this COVID thing, I'm hoping that when people are finally able to, everybody come back without masks, because we have the mask and no mask people. I'm hoping that there's going to be a new attitude, almost a refreshing, like, okay, we took church for granted, and now, and we miss each other because we're a family, and now we can be back together.
Yeah.
Amen? All right. My last question I want to ask you, and then I don't know if we have any questions out there, but what are some words of wisdom? Now, this might be a hard question. What are some words of wisdom that have been imparted in your life, and who did they come from? Things that you hold on to and you move into.
Probably my 9th grade history teacher, Mr. Ostheim. He didn't even really like me, but he said a wise man learns from his own, or a smart man learns from his own mistakes, and a wise man learns from others. And just always having older friends, I always kind of took that to heart at a good age in 9th grade, and kind of try to my best to learn from other people's mistakes so I didn't have to make them myself.
See, that's wise. That's good. If you can do that and learn that when you're young. That's why I like the Bible, because you can even, there's so many mistakes in the Bible. I had to read a book once. The Lord had me reading these books, and then he said, don't write down one accomplishment they had done. Write down every mistake that they had made in ministry and don't repeat it. It was God's Generals, the book, God's Generals. And these powerful men and women of God, but really made some poor choices, and the poor choices ended up overriding a lot of their ministry. So if you can learn from the poor choice of somebody else, and I wrote them all down and I began to just live by them, and it's helped a lot.
For sure.
Is there one that?
Probably say to never judge somebody by the decisions they've made when you don't know the choices they've had to choose from.
Oh, say that one again. That's a good one.
Ooh.
Never judge a person on the decisions they've made when you don't know the choices they've had to choose from. So, like I said, some people aren't afforded certain luxuries, and so they might be put in certain situations that they've had possibly do things or we might not agree with, but at that time. So that's always been something that's stuck with me.
If you weren't in their shoes at the time, don't
Right.
judge them.
You know, I found that so many people have an opinion that have never been in a certain situation. I've learned through my years now, I wouldn't judge somebody's decision for anything, because unless I've actually been there, you think you know. One thing I've learned, you think you know what you would do. You think you would have an answer. Oh, I would never allow this, or I would never do this, or I would never do that. And when you put up, you know, when you're actually put in a situation, you do things you never ever dreamed you would do. And it causes you then to be not so judgmental and have an opinion. That's why I'm always saying, you know, do a lot of smile and nodding and a lot of listening. I remember telling, I think you, Brett, a lot of times that one thing that I had to learn to live by too is when we've had an offense with somebody, or you're upset, somebody's upset with you, you know, if you were in their shoes, could you possibly have seen it that way? Sometimes when we're in a situation, we only see it from our perspective. But if you put yourself in their perspective, in their shoes for just a minute, could what you did possibly, could it be seen that way?
I've said it from a very young age. Everyone has a right to feel.
Right.
Everyone has a right to feel however they want to feel. I may not agree with it, but you have the right to feel that way. And it's just, you know, that's kind of the problem with what's going on today is everyone thinks no one has the right to feel however they want to feel. It's okay. It's fine. There's no problem with it. Feel however you want.
We should never minimize someone's feelings.
Yeah, of course not. And also just, you know, and it's tough, but don't, you know, project. You can have a discussion and you can feel a certain way and I can feel a certain way. And we can just agree to disagree and call it a day and move on with a different conversation.
I think that's a really powerful thing. Can we just learn to agree to disagree? And a lot of times when you're in certain situations, it's just better not to bring up certain subjects. All right, so if you already know it's going to cause tension, then why bring the subject up, right? All right, do we have any questions from the audience? Something you really always wanted to know about me, but you want them to answer it? Do we have any questions from the audience? I'm like, okay, Carol.
Because this is a full gospel church and your mom's a prophet and things are different than other churches, how has that felt with your peers, where your friends might not really understand, or did it not affect you in any way?
Wait, so we're going to have to repeat this question. She was asking if, let me see if I get this right, did it affect you at all knowing that your friends knew that your mother was a pastor or a prophet, and did it affect you in any way, good or bad? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say it affected, but I mean, if you brought your friends to church and people started speaking in tongues, and that came, it was what the heck's going on type of a situation, and you'd have to try to explain it. And so sometimes I think that's for somebody's first day coming into a church is not the best approach. I don't know, I guess maybe I just don't see myself ever speaking in tongues. I'm not saying that God has me not do it, but yeah.
Okay.
It was sometimes it would be a little awkward.
Well, and I can understand that.
because a lot of our
Sunday mornings, you know, we operate a little different than we do on Tuesdays.
But it didn't used to be that way.
Didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
For
It
sure.
was full blown on.
And a lot of our friends that we would bring, it was their first time.
Right.
Sometimes their last time. But, no, I mean, I used to tell my friends all the time, and my mom had a better knockout count than Mike Tyson. She'd just go there and, and they'd go down. But it,
We're talking
no.
about being slain in the spirit.
Yeah,
You don't
it's,
know what that is. You know, you pray over somebody and the power of God falls, and they, you know, are no longer standing.
She was like Mike Tyson with it. But, yeah, it's just, I mean, I never just, I guess, cared about people's opinions that much to that it would bother me, you know. I mean, I remember a couple of my friends got drunk one time and stole a big Shout Jesus sign from one of her concerts and brought it back to their house, and they thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I had to go and get it and then make them bring it back. But, you know, it's just, they thought they were doing such a great deed.
I work with that guy
He
now.
works with one of those guys.
No.
You know who you
He
are.
sold one of my, those, you know, I did a concert series for 5 years, the whole church did, and I did the concert, and I forgot about that. They stole my sign.
I came into my friend's apartment. It was hanging up in his living room. It's like 20-foot banner that said "Shout Jesus" with Sherry Colby.
Oh, the big banner. Yeah, they had to bring it back.
But yeah, I mean, I never. It is what it is. You know, it's my mom. I love her no matter what.
No matter what. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Did anybody else have a question? That was a good question, Carol. All right. Well, we're really glad you're here tonight, live. I love it. Hopefully we get more people live and you can ask questions. I'll let you know on Thursday what we're doing next week on Amazing Grace. We've got some great ideas for next week. And just remember to check out our Facebook page, become link to us so that you always know what's going on, and subscribe, because then you'll get a little click when we're going live Sundays at 10 a.m. And later on, it's live at 10 a.m. and then it's posted just the sermon later on if you didn't catch it. Do you have any last minute things you'd like to say, David? Why don't you tell me what a wonderful mom I am? And,
You are a great mother, and you're a
Okay.
great grandmother.
and I'm a wonderful grandmother.
I think this is probably a question both of us have probably wanted to know for a long time, but who's the favorite?
Who's the favorite?
Pretty sure she already said that about 4 or 5 times.
No. You know what?
No, she just said your favorite realtor's favorite realtor.
If
Something
Yeah,
like
that's
favorite
the
captain. Okay, you know what? You don't have a favorite as kids. You like certain things about kids more than, you know, I might like certain things about your personality. I like certain things about his personality and certain things about Ryan's personality. But the fact is that you're all different, and I love you the same. Just some, you know, some need me more than others. Right? But, Dave, I'll talk to you later.
Exactly.
Brett, I'll talk to you later. Okay. Remember when they were little and they'd ask you that question and you'd say, of course it's you. And then you wait for the next one, right? My favorite grandchild is sitting out there right now. And then if the other one was over there, I love all my grandkids too. They're so special. They're wonderful. Grandkids are amazing. All right? They say the coolest things to you. All right, anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay. I'm really proud of you, Brett. You did really good. You didn't, you know, you were.
45 minutes.
I didn't have to do this one time.
We're
Didn't have to do
good.
this one time. All right. Again, check into the Thursday morning chat. Remember, nothing's impossible with God, and nothing can separate you from the love of God. We thank the Lord for amazing grace, and until next week, God bless and have an amazing week.